Pain is something that everyone is going to experience in one way or another. And it's very easy to let certain emotions and situations act as almost an anchor and completely halt all your progress. But lately I've been implementing a very simple and almost childlike mindful practice. And by putting it into my regular routine, when something goes wrong, it's really been able to help me kind of take all of the negative emotions and feelings and stress or whatever it is that I'm going through and channel it in a very productive way that is healing, instead of falling back into our old habits. And instead of healing, all we're doing is just kind of treading water and coping the best we can. In this video, I'm going to talk about what I've been doing to turn pain into productivity, and hopefully it helps someone out there who needs it. Let's go. Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Be sure to stay here until the end of the video to learn how you can get a free trial of Skillshare for yourself. Stress, heartbreak, loss, uncertainty, whatever it may be, it can easily take the rug that we're standing on and turn it into quicksand quicker than we can blink. And so many times I have sank into that quicksand because life didn't play out the way that I wanted or the way that I thought it was going to go. And it's always been the easiest reaction for me that when something happens, I just kind of throw my hands up and I let depression and anxiety and drugs and alcohol and whatever it is that I can take that will kind of numb me out and make the pain go away, I let those things take me by the hand and lead me into the dark without even putting up any sort of fight. But one thing I've learned is we can't keep repeating the same things and fall back on the same coping mechanisms and then at the end of it expect to be anywhere other than exactly where we were whenever we started. But now you're beaten, you're scarred, you're even more broken than when you started this Groundhog Day-esque pilgrimage of self-destruction that we somehow convinced ourselves was healthy and healing us. And hey, I'm not here approaching this on a high horse or standing on like my preacher's podium. I still succumb to these things whenever life takes my little fishbowl existence and violently shakes it and then tosses it down a flight of stairs. One of the things I've always done is I've looked at ways that I've coped, and then I've realized that they were unhealthy, trying to mask pain with substance or just kind of getting lost in sadness. And I've realized that they're bad. I realize that they don't serve me to move me forward, but they're what I've known. They're what I am comfortable with. So when anything goes wrong, what do? I always slide back onto those things. And because I continue to do it whenever I'm consciously aware that these things are not what's going to get me where I want to be, I always just look at them negatively. And if I kind of fall back into that place, I end up beating myself up even more. And I was having a session with my therapist and I had mentioned something like that. And I kind of phrased like a coping mechanism very negatively because I didn't like it. And they told me to not look at any sort of coping mechanisms or any habits that I fall back on as something negative. Our brain is such a powerful thing, and these things that we look at now that maybe we've outgrown that we still fall back into, that's there for a reason. We came up with that means to cope based on whatever situation and whatever headspace we were at the time. So everything that we've done and everything that we do, our brain placed that there as as a safety mechanism, as a safety net to catch us and help us deal with whatever we were going through. And it's only natural that we kind of fall back to these things that we know because they provide us comfort. I talk to people all the time about it, about how depression and having mental illness, anyone who has mental illness knows that it's hell, knows that you don't want to have it. But at the same time, you get so used to that being normal and kind of how your mind works, that sadness, that kind of black oil spill that you're trying to just, swim your way through whenever your head's in a bad spot. In a way, it also becomes like a safety blanket. It sucks, but there's this weird comfort and safety in sadness. Anyone who has mental illness definitely will understand what I'm talking about. If life gets too stressful, or a breakup happens, or just something crazy happens in my life, my go-to is I usually just kind of go to the store and buy a case of beer and try to drown it, because that's just what I'm used to doing. But what'll always happen is I'll get a little buzz, and then I get the urge to create. And the practice that I've been doing is based around kind of creativity, but it could be used for, I feel, anything. So what I've started doing is having these no right, no wrong creative sessions. It's a terrible name for it. I'll come up with a better name, or you guys can come up with a better name. I really set my intention before I go into that space, and I tell myself, like, we're not doing this for anyone else, only for me. I give myself the complete freedom to do anything and everything, try a new craft, whatever. And if it's good, if it's bad, it doesn't matter. It is just me creating without any boundaries whatsoever. I was having a really bad week last week, and I just went right back to it. It was cases of beer a day, just feeling sorry for myself and just really down in the dumps, talking down to myself, the whole 9 yards. And so I woke up the next day. I was still feeling horrible and hungover, so emotionally horrible and physically horrible. And I kind of had to sit down with myself and basically really started thinking about what I was doing and how falling back into what I always have done, it's not going to get me where I want to be. So I applied those principles of the kind of no right, no wrong creative sessions, and I kind of took out the first step of needing the alcohol. I basically shut myself in the room, and I really started focusing on those emotions and focusing on my body, focusing on where I felt the tension, where, what I was feeling. And I used that and just poured it all into creating. And I probably had one of the most inspiring and freeing creative sessions I've ever had. I had put in this practice of allowing myself to be creative without any sort of boundaries or limitations or any sort of intrusive thoughts in my head, just me doing whatever I felt like doing or learning at the time. And so whenever I hit that low and then gave myself that same space, I kind of caught it and realized that because I had been doing this and doing something so simple as just having these creative sessions where I could do whatever I wanted and wasn't holding myself up to any standard, it allowed me to be able to catch myself when I fell back onto my usual go-tos. And that safety of that carefree, do whatever I want environment, it allowed me to not have to have the alcohol and just really let everything in me open up and just pour myself into whatever I wanted to do. And it was one of those like aha light bulb moments, because I did it just because I didn't want to feel bad anymore. And I was like, I have to try something different. I can't keep doing the same thing. But what I didn't realize is just letting myself feel all of this, all of the pain and all of the emotions that I've been going through, and letting it pour out into healthy means, into non-destructive, self-destructive means. It kind of lit a fire under me, and I was able to reprocess those emotions and just use the pain in productivity. And it was kind of mind-blowing whenever I caught on to it, because I've always been one of those people that's like, man, this is just how I cope, this is how I deal, and I'll eventually be done with it and I'll be good. No, what happens is I just get burnt out, because you can only, drink and be self-destructive for so long before you're just burnt out on it. So then you're still right back at the point that you were. You just feel a lot shittier than you did when you began. And to actually realize that I had made kind of this active, mindful decision to start implementing these things, and to see it pay off and allow me to kind of process the intense emotions that I've had over the last couple weeks into a very healthy and healing kind of space. Man, it was, I can't even describe it. It was amazing. And maybe that's very easy for some people to do, and maybe that's what a lot of people go to, but I am the king of being self-destructive. So to actually catch that and to catch a change, it just reaffirmed that I have outgrown these familiar things to fall back on, and that I am in fact growing and going further with my healing and just becoming the person that I wanted to be. And the thing about the no right, no wrong practice, I really need to get a new name for that because that is a mouthful. You don't have to be good at anything. It's about doing whatever you want, trying something new, picking up a new skill, doing basically whatever you feel like, and allowing yourself to just have fun. It's basically kind of reverting back to when you would be a kid and you would just find joy in whatever it was, action figures, playing with sticks, whatever it is. You just kind of let yourself just be absolutely free, make goofy noises, make goofy things. It doesn't matter what it is. The biggest thing is you're not holding yourself up to any standard. There's no kind of preset thing to where I have to get this done and it has to be this good. No, you're just doing it just for yourself and putting that in there. The next time that something happens, or even if you're going through something now, it's okay if you fall back onto your familiar things, because again, these things we're familiar with, we fall back on because they're comfortable. And that's what we want so much whenever we're in pain, is to just, feel some sort of comfort in the moment. But by implementing this practice, it allowed me to catch myself. So, I didn't just keep spiraling down a path of self-destruction and just falling back into that depression. I was just able to, in a healthy way, channel all of these emotions and all of these feelings into creative outlets, and have came up with some of the best stuff I've ever came up with. And again, that's very subjective, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not holding it to anything else. I'm not holding it to any standard. Just listening to the music that I've made or reading some of the stuff that I've wrote, it has a different power to it, because when you let yourself just be absolutely free and just pour every ounce of emotion into something physical, something that's there, it has this beauty to it, because it's almost like a trophy, almost like you're holding proof, like, look, this is my growth. Like, look, I can literally hand you a sculpture of my growth, because we're not letting ourselves fall back into these familiar self-destructive habits. We're always looking for these big changes and these big signs that, we're putting in effort, or that we're kind of working through trauma or healing from these old wounds. But we're looking for the big thing, something huge. But by putting in this little thing, this kind of childlike freedom of creativity, it ended up showing itself and helping in a way that was way bigger than I intended. And I don't know, it was just kind of a really beautiful moment of that self-realization that, man, I'm putting in some work and life is getting better. It made me hopeful. That's been the craziest thing about it, is this creative streak has continued, and I've applied for jobs that I've always been like, man, I won't get that. I'm letting myself just be open and free, and kind of coming to this point in my life to where I have to realize, and I know it's a very simple thing, but it's also a very hard thing, that life just isn't going to go your way sometimes. Situations aren't going to work out like you want them to. But the thing is, we can't just always break down when things don't go right. But by giving yourself that just limited time, every day, every other day, whenever you can, of just pure creative freedom and whatever you want to do, man, whenever it really gets dark, it just helps so much. And I don't know, it kind of gave me this weird, like, positive affirmation in a way that's like, man, you can do this. Like, you're gonna be okay, and we don't have to rely on all of these bad things in order to be okay. It's okay to feel and process, and yes, it sucks and it's painful, but we have to allow that. And it's very hard, but if you do it in a way that's almost like a game, like I said, that's why I call it childlike, because that's what it feels like whenever I let myself just kind of have these free roam sessions, because I'm basically just a kid again, having fun, making random noises with pedal boxes and all sorts of things. And it could be whatever you want, you know, baking, you know, singing Atlantis Morissette at your local karaoke bar, whatever you want. So if you'd like, implement it into your life. Like I said, you don't have to be a musician. You don't have to be good at anything. It's all about trying new things or doing whatever it is that you're passionate about, but giving yourself absolutely, there's no expectations. You can't mess anything up, and also at the same time, nothing can be perfect, because it's just an outlet, a complete outlet. Then the next time things are bad, use that same freedom and kindness you've been giving yourselves in these kind of creative sessions. Use that, but let it be fueled by your emotions. Let your deep emotions and that pain and whatever you're going through, let that have its own space, to where there is no wrong and there is no right. It just can do and show itself in whatever means possible. But the thing is, we direct that so it's something healthy and something that's helping us move forward, and we're not just doing drugs and drinking ourselves to death and gonna wake up after like a 3-week bender in the same spot being like, oh man, I really don't feel any better. If you end up kind of implementing it and making it a conscious practice, let me know how it works for you. If you plan on doing it, you know, if you want to share how you're going to do it below, what's something you're going to give yourself the absolute freedom to do whatever with, let me know. Like, I want to hear it. It was, again, it's such a simple thing that I never thought would show itself and help me in the way that it did. But when I realized it, I was like, man, I have to make a video about this, because I know it can help somebody out there. And that's the whole point of making these videos, is as long as it helps a single person, then that's all I want out of this. And if you've made it this far, you get to enjoy the part of the video where I get to shout out my amazing sponsors, the always great Skillshare. I joined Skillshare because it is such a wonderful, no-nonsense platform. Everything is right there in front of you. All of the videos are so well made. There's no ads, and the authors and their classes are just so well put together and really help you get right to the point of whatever it is you're trying to learn, or whatever part of your life that you're trying to better. There's a lot of kind of alternative, off the beaten path classes that I have started implementing, and they have really helped me. And one of those videos that I would highly recommend, that's very much about living intentionally, kind of what we spoke about today, is Document Your Life: 4 Methods to Live More Intentionally by Nathaniel Drew.
A way of bringing a lot of meaning and depth to everything that you do in life, big or small. I call it intentional documentation, and I consider it a powerful alternative to autopiloting your way through life. In this class, I'm going to take you through the principles of effective documentation, the right mindset to approaching documenting your experiences, and a variety of really creative ways to go about doing it, all of which have a very low bar of entry, so that you don't have to have very much or any experience at all beforehand to get started.
What he talks about in this video of intentional documentation has been kind of eye-opening for me, and I've started actively implementing it into my life. I can't recommend this class enough, so definitely go check it out, because it is one of the best ones that I've found so far on Skillshare. Because I know you're gonna love that class and so many more classes that are on Skillshare. The first 1,000 people to click the link in the description will get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. It is a platform that I can't recommend enough, that I have used for the longest time. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and get your free trial of Skillshare. You're gonna love it, and be sure to really browse around. You might find a class that's about something that you never even thought of, but next thing you know, you're in love with something new, all thanks to the amazing teachers on Skillshare. What are you waiting for? Click the link in the description. Get your free 1-month trial of Skillshare. I know you're gonna absolutely dig it, and be sure to dive deep. It's such a vast platform with so many amazing classes. You'll never know what new hobby that you learn that you suddenly fall in love with. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you've been following me for a while, thanks so much for coming back. I appreciate all of your support. And if it's the first time you've ever watched a video, thank you so much for clicking on it. And if you don't mind and you liked what you heard, hit the subscribe button and hit that little bell afterwards so you don't miss the notifications for any videos moving forward. Thank y'all so much for watching. My name is Morgan. I will see you on the next one. Y'all be kind to yourselves, be mindful, and yeah, take care. I'm out of here. Later.